the man on the hill, Rabbi.
Yeah, and I believe we are in a. You've heard me said it. I haven't said it on this one, but for anybody watching, we are in a most critical time right now. I've felt for a long time. First, I felt a while back because of this and because of other things. I shared it publicly with the congregation. I believe that this year was going to be a year of shaking before. And then I felt that September is going to be critical and the autumn is going to be critical. And we have not finished with the shaking. So that's one of the reasons for all that we're talking about here. You know, this is to be a trumpet call, prophetic. That's what the book is. That's what all this is about. The man on the hill. Now, this is in the Harbinger too, and that is this. First of all, as we, in talking about this, we're coming right now to a very big milestone, and that is that 2020 is also the 400th anniversary of the spiritual birthing of America with the Mayflower. We heard it our whole lives. Well, this is the 400th year, and it's actually going to come in autumn. It's actually we're going through the days of the sailing of the Mayflower is happening, and it's going to go through September. It's actually the return in Washington is going to happen during the days of the sailing, and it's going to culminate in November when you go to the 400. 400 years is significant in the Bible. And so we have that. We also had Jamestown. That was another one. And then the other one was the Massachusetts Bay, which is and the key person is a man we know at John Winthrop. People have said that if George Washington is the father of the country, then John Winthrop is the grandfather of the country. And he came there in 1630, and he had a vision. And the vision was really the first vision of America that has lasted, of the symbol of America. And he said famous words. Ronald Reagan quoted from him when he quoted from Messiah, Jesus. He said, "We shall be as a city on a hill." And it says, if we follow the God of the Bible, it's talking about the God of Israel. If we follow the God of Israel, he said, then we will become the most blessed people. The blessings of Israel will come upon us. We'll become the most prosperous people, the most powerful people. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. We'll become the safest people. God will protect us. The God of Israel will be with us. So he's speaking about America in terms of ancient Israel, which is the template, that we're seeing again and again. And this is before America became a nation. So he says all those things, and it all came true. America would become the most blessed, the most powerful, the most prosperous, the safest, the most blessed nation in the world. And it was all prophesied before it all began there in Massachusetts Bay in the 1600s by John Winthrop. It all came true. And so he said that. He said it, and he's quoting really from Moses. So he's kind of coming like Moses said to Israel when they're about to enter the promised land. So Winthrop says to the people of America as they're entering the new land, the new world. But the thing is this, remember Reagan used to quote this. He'd say, city on a hill, city on a hill, city on a hill. But what people miss is that he didn't stop there. After he said we shall be a city on a hill, he gave a prophetic warning that was there embedded at the beginning. Just like remember in the Harbinger, Washington gave a prophetic warning at the beginning of the nation. Well, before that, it was Winthrop who gave the prophetic warning. And he said this, he said, but if we turn away from our God, if we turn away from God, then, he said, I'm paraphrasing, if we go to other gods, then the blessings that God gave us will be withdrawn. And it basically says that the judgments that came upon ancient Israel will come upon America. And he says that because he's likening America to Israel. And so therefore, he said, if we turn away, and he's really quoting from Deuteronomy, from Moses. And do you remember from what we shared before, one of the things from the Harbinger too is that on the day of 9/11, or the week of 9/11, just before 9/11 happened, there was an appointed word in all the synagogues across the world and in New York City. And the appointed word from ages past, they opened it up, and it was Deuteronomy, Moses saying, what's going to happen to you if you turn away from God? And in that, it talks about an enemy will come from far away. These are the signs of a nation entering judgment. An enemy will come from far away. He will attack you at your gates. He will, all these things that came true on 9/11. And also it says that the enemy will come like an eagle and he will swoop down exactly at 9/11. Remember what we saw with this is another mystery in the book, that when the planes came into the tower, that the first plane that began it, they had an image of a swooping eagle, the same thing in Deuteronomy that was appointed for that week or before that week. So all that happened, and now Winthrop is quoting from that same section. And so Winthrop says, if you turn away from God, these things are going to happen. And it was the very scripture that was there for 9/11 when it all happened. But here is the thing. Here is the thing. There is the chapter about the man on the hill is linked to another chapter in the book called The Island. Here's the thing. When there actually was a city on a hill, it was America, but actually Winthrop founded a city that was to be a city on a hill, and it was to be the first thing, and he became the leader over it. That's where he lived, and that's where he died. And the city on the hill is a city we know. It's a city we know called Boston. Where did 9/11 begin? From the city on the hill. It began in Boston. That's where the planes took off from. It's the city of John Winthrop, the city of the man who gave the warning of what would happen if America ever turned away from God. It all happened. It began from the city on the hill. The planes took off from the city on the hill. And it took place, and the same from the man who warned that these things would happen, and who spoke about Deuteronomy, which speaks about the enemy coming, and all that. It happened from the city on the hill. And yet there's even more, because John Winthrop founded not only the city, he founded an island on the city or off the city, and he lived there. He would spend time there. He would pray there. And it was called Governor's Island because it was named after him. He was the governor. It was Winthrop's Island. And so that's where he was. And that's where all this, and he's praying for America. He's praying for the colony. Well, here's the thing. What happened to that island? The island of John Winthrop. The island of John Winthrop became Logan Airport, the very place where the terrorists took off from the island of John Winthrop, who gave the warning. So before even, remember the mystery of the mystery ground, that where America was dedicated on the day that Washington warned what would happen, and they dedicated America to God. It was at ground, it was all came back to ground zero, because that's where America was dedicated to God. But even before Washington was Winthrop, and so before ground zero was this sacred ground. So it all began on the island of John Winthrop. And if you go there today to that airport, you'll see right next to it, there's a town called Winthrop. It all began, everything returns, everything's coming back to the beginning. And God warns the nation. He's bringing us back to our foundation. This is what happens in judgment, warning us and calling us back. Come back, America, return, America, because if you don't, there is no other future but judgment. It all began with John Winthrop with a prophetic warning from his island, and then it came from there to the mystery ground where America was dedicated to God. Who could put that together? These are the days, these are biblical times, and these are the days of judgment.